In our last episode, we finally found Marsha. She wasn't actually missing. Turns out she just ran away to join the Raiders, whom she wanted to turn into her new family. She brought a diary page with her to the Raider War Room, which can help us understand her motivations a little bit better. Lying on the ground next to some folding chairs, we find Marsha's backpack, and inside, Marsha's diary. Everyone is dead. These assholes called the Brotherhood of Steel showed up and decided that we should fight back against the Raiders who were taking our supplies. The Brotherhood gave everyone these weapons, but they got overwhelmed. The Raiders took the weapons from us and slaughtered everyone, including Mom. If the Brotherhood had never shown up, everyone would still be alive. If we didn't try to fight back, the Raiders would have taken what they wanted and left, just like they always have. Their blood is on the Brotherhood's hands. A lot of assumptions are going into this conclusion, but that's a topic for another episode.
What are you doing here?
But it just so happens that the Raiders she tried to join had just been kidnapped by a bunch of Hellcat mercenaries who were employed by a guy named B to really kidnap people. And so somehow we still managed to find information about the missing people of Appalachia. Bit of a coincidence, that. A key detail we learned from the Hellcat mercenaries was that the mercenaries were acquiring people from the Blue Ridge Caravan Company, a caravan company that has been working in Appalachia since Wastelanders. That's quite some time. We need to tell Paladin Rahmani all about this, but she's not where she usually is. Instead, we find her in the basement rec room, talking with a familiar face.
I understand your frustration, Mr. Knapp. Finding everyone that has gone missing is my top priority, but we need more evidence before we can act.
Evidence? Well, what more do you need, huh? Are you saying my Cassie is a liar?
No, that's not what I'm saying at all. Initiate. Excellent timing. There's something we should discuss. Mr. Knapp here has come to us with another missing persons case.
My niece Cassie. Cassie Halloway. She paid some caravan and folk to help her travel here from out west. Sent me some letters just before she set out. Them letters arrived just fine, but she didn't. I went and spoke with them caravanners, and they tell me that my Cassie never set out with them at all. Those, Blue Mountain what's-its,
The Blue Ridge Caravan Company.
Slow down a second. What's the full situation?
Mr. Knapp's niece, Cassie.
Cassie Halloway, my sister's girl, about 20-something.
Right. Miss Halloway apparently paid the Blue Ridge Caravan Company to transport her to Appalachia. It would appear she never arrived. However, the people Mr. Knapp spoke with at Blue Ridge claim she was never a client to begin with.
Except them's damn liars. I got letters from Cassie. She spells them out plain as day. I'm traveling with Blue Ridge something or other.
Right. All caught up, Initiate?
Blue Ridge. Now that is a coincidence. Again, I found a letter saying that mercenaries would acquire people from them.
Really? This letter said they would acquire more people from Blue Ridge? Interesting. This is the first real lead we've found, and it connects directly with what Mr. Knapp is reporting. I actually had my own suspicions about the organization, but this information certainly tips the scales.
If we've worked with the Blue Ridge Caravan Company and done their event Riding Shotgun, we find an option here to say, I've worked with them before. They didn't seem very suspicious.
I imagine any shady operations they may have in play wouldn't be something so easy to stumble across. Though, it's good to know you've had some dealings with them. And maybe that'll provide a foot in the door.
What made you suspicious of Blue Ridge?
I've made several attempts to contact the Blue Ridge Caravan Company in hopes of trading supplies. They turned me down. Every time. I understand that the Brotherhood can be an intimidating presence, and the West Virginia chapter didn't exactly leave behind a shining legacy, but I think we've shown we have Appalachia's safety and security at heart. yet they remain unwilling to even speak. I find it suspicious. During our travels, we found that a caravan group was just as often a cover for slavers and raiders, the friendly guys for rolling through towns. I didn't suspect Blue Ridge of such at first, but their repeated refusal to talk, Mr. Knapp's story, and this letter are simply too much to ignore.
Right. Paladin Rahmani's a bit paranoid, but okay, what's next?
We need to investigate this Blue Ridge Caravan Company immediately. Well, they have an office at the west end of the Big Bend Tunnel. Initiate! I'd like you to meet me there, but try not to attract too much attention either. If they realize we're in the Brotherhood, they may clam up.
If we sided with Shin at the end of Steel Dawn, we find an option to say, I don't take orders from you, Rahmani. Remember?
Fine. Don't see it as orders. See it as helping the people of Appalachia. I assume, regardless of where you and I stand, we remain united in the duty of helping others. There are lives at risk here. It can't be ignored.
Wait, you're joining me on this mission?
That's right. Fort Atlas is secure for the time being, and with Shin out of commission, I'd like to step in and do my part. This is our strongest lead by far. The two of us need to act quickly if we hope to safely return those that went missing.
If we sided with Rahmani at the end of Steel Dawn, we can say, Roger, I'll meet you there. But if we sided with Shin, our only option is to rather petulantly say, fine, I'll see you there. Either way, her response is the same.
Thank you, Initiate. Ad Victorium.
Then turning to Art Knapp.
Wait a second, I remember you. You're the bootlicker that were fielding questions for that angry knight fella, right? Finally decided that old Knapp was worth helping out. Well, ask if you got questions. If it'll help find Cassie, that is.
That's how he responds if we didn't take his problems seriously when we met him at the beginning of the game. If, however, we tried to get him what he wanted from Knight Shin back at the beginning of the game.
You're the one that went to bat for me with that knight feller. Well, guess I can rest easier knowing you're helping out again. If there's something I can tell you that'll help find my Cassie, just ask.
What can you tell me about your niece Cassie?
Oh, well, she's tough as nails and twice as sharp. The girl is like a, what do you call it, prodigy for farm work. She wrote saying she's moving to Foundation, share her knowledge and such. Sounded like a load of hooey to me, but I'd love to see her all the same.
Why are you so sure Blue Ridge is involved?
'Cause Cassie said so herself, or at least her letters did. She called them out by name a few times, said she hired them to provide safe travel. Of course, when I went and asked them myself, they played the fool. No, sir, we deliver cargo, not people. Bunch of lying sons of... every one of them.
Have you heard about any other missing people?
I'm not really one for socializing. I couldn't tell you. I keep to myself and family. Like Cassie.
That's all for now.
Just get her home safe, please. She means the world to me.
With that, we need to head to the Blue Ridge Caravan Company. We find them at the Big Bend Tunnel West. I covered the lore of the Big Bend Tunnel in a video that I published before Wastelanders, and then I covered the lore of the Blue Ridge Caravan Company and their event, Riding Shotgun, in a video after Wastelanders. But now we return for an entirely different purpose. We find a new interior cell here in the shack just outside the Big Bend Tunnel called the Blue Ridge Office. Heading inside, we find Paladin Rahmani sitting at a stool at the bar. But, she's not very incognito. She's stressed how important it was that we didn't appear to be Brotherhood when we came here, and yet here she sits, wearing an outfit that has a Brotherhood of Steel insignia pin on it, as well as the Brotherhood of Steel Paladin rank on the shoulder. Pretty subtle there, Paladin Rahmani. No one's gonna figure that out.
There you are, friend. Sorry for the informality, but we should keep a low profile. Don't want to spook anyone that might be listening in.
And despite her clearly being dressed as a Brotherhood soldier, we can strangely say, "What's with the getup? I barely recognize you."
Ugh, you're a little slower on the draw than I thought. It's to keep a low profile, to not draw attention. Am I getting through?
Oh yeah, a low profile wearing a Brotherhood of Steel insignia pin. Right, Leela? Can we just get on with this already?
I may be wearing civvies, but that's not an all clear to be rude, you know.
Sure thing, Leela.
Huh. Don't get too used to that.
Or if we had really low intelligence, we could pass an idiot check to say, "Who are you? I'm looking for Paladin Rahmani of the Brotherhood of Steel."
Initiate. It's me. I am Paladin Rahmani. I'm just wearing different clothes. Also, did I not say we should keep a low profile? Please just try. But listen, I was hoping we could talk for a few minutes before we head upstairs. Let me buy you a drink. What do you say?
We could flirt with our superior officer and say, "Why, Paladin, I didn't know you saw me that way."
Oh, cut the crap. I'm being real here. There's some things we need to hash out. Come on, pull up a stool.
Or we could say, "Sure, I could use a drink."
Great. Take a seat.
Sitting at the stool next to her, the bartender addresses us.
Oh boy, a customer! What can I get for you?
Oh boy, indeed. We have a number of great options here. If only I could have selected all of them. We could say, "Whiskey, neat."
Neat! Well, you sure as shit ain't getting it on the rocks. Okay, here you go. Enjoy.
A fine choice.
Or if we have low intelligence, we could pass an idiot check to say, "Someone told me Nuka Shine is a real trip. One, please."
And no. Last time I stocked that, 15-pack Brahmin were left up on the roller coaster at Wavy Willard's. How about a beer instead? Okay, here you go. Enjoy.
You are truly perplexing sometimes. Salomati, my friend.
So, about you and Night Shin.
I'd rather not ruin this. I just need a brief moment where I'm not a paladin to a headstrong, self-righteous, mutinous knight.
What made you join the Brotherhood?
Well, that's interesting phrasing. Join. Never really thought about it that way. I was already in the National Guard, helping people, maintaining peace. That was my life. The Brotherhood didn't feel like a new organization. It felt like regrouping with my people. A return to form. Maybe some ranks and verbiage changed, but the heart of it was there. I'm not sure I even gave it a second thought.
Sounds like you didn't know what you were signing up for.
No, I don't think it's quite as simple as a bait and switch. When the founders started out, I genuinely believe they were fueled by a desire to protect people from the horrors of the old world. But time changed them. Paid too much attention to what they did and how, but lost sight of why. The people.
Sounds like it was a good fit.
It was. Even knowing what I know now, I have no regrets. They were my people, my comrades. But things changed as time rolled on. As I'm sure you know, the views of the elders and I differed greatly. Sometimes I think... No, I'm certain that I was selected for this mission in order to remove my perspective and influence. The elders saw my pull and experience as a threat and knew I would never align with their goals. What better way to prevent my meddling than to send me packing on a cross-country venture? I often wonder if they ever expected me to report in at all. To make it here alive. Joke's on them, I guess.
A while ago you mentioned another knight. Connors?
Alan Connors. That's right. Dear, dear friend. The two of us were from the same unit in the National Guard. Alan had been my rock through every storm I weathered. We survived the bombs together, joined the Brotherhood together. He was more than my right hand. He was really a lifelong companion. I'd never really considered a world without him. Not just to me either. To both Valdez and Shin. He was like a big brother, even a father. He was always there for them. That's the part that gets to me. He was an important person to damn near everyone. It's what makes his absence hurt even more.
I wonder if things would have been different if he were here.
Almost certainly.
Seems like he was a great man.
Indeed. He was the bedrock of this team. And things were never the same with Shin from then on. When we lost Alan, Shin stepped up to take on many of his responsibilities. He was on top of the grief. That must have been a lot to handle. It led him to fall back on what he knows, on rules and doctrine. He doesn't trust anyone else to help him see beyond that. Not like he trusted Alan. And because of me, because of a call I made, we all lost him. I know Shin will never forgive me for it.
Shin told me a bit. Sounds like he was guilty too.
No, I was the commanding officer. Blame starts at the top. That's one subject the two of us agree on, even if he doesn't realize it.
Reckless decisions like that put everyone at risk.
I'll let that one slide, since we're off duty, so to speak. But don't for a minute think that you're in a position to lecture me on the responsibilities of my station. If anything, I fought against my better instincts and went with a plan that I myself doubted. But that kind of reflection is fruitless. I made the final call. The burden lies on my shoulders. I hope, at least, you can start to see things from my perspective more. To understand why I make the choices I make.
I'm sorry for your loss.
Thank you for hearing me out. It's an honor to pass on his story. He deserves that and so much more.
Let's finish with a toast.
I think that's a fine idea. To whom?
We have a number of options. We can say, "Tonight Connors."
Yes. Tonight, Alan Connors. May he never be forgotten.
Or we can say, "Tonight Shin."
You really know how to twist the knife. But yes, to Daniel Shin. May he see a speedy recovery. Bisalamati. Now, on to business. Let's head upstairs. And remember to keep a low profile. We're just a pair of friendly traders looking for potential business.
Heading upstairs, in our totally low profile, we hear a familiar voice.
Look out, here comes trouble.
It is, of course, Aries, a fellow we should be familiar with if we've done riding shotgun. If we talk to him, having completed riding shotgun.
Oh, have you returned to plunge into the
Ms.
depths
Mayfield.
of Big Bend
My name is
again?
Layla.
Well, I'm on
to
break,
speak with you.
sorry.
And we learn that he's on break. Heading to the desk, Rahmani introduces herself to Joanna Mayfield.
Ms. Mayfield, my name is Layla. I made an appointment to speak with you.
Please, Joanna is just fine, dear. And while all this cloak and dagger hubbub is flattering, why don't we cut to the chase, Paladin Rahmani?
Well, that was short-lived.
Yeah, I wonder if it's because you had a paladin rank insignia on your shoulder, Rahmani.
Okay, Joanna. It appears I underestimated you.
And looky there. You've got one of these famous vault dwellers in tow.
She says this if we have never done riding shotgun.
Oh, and I know this one. Made a splash around here. Say, when are you planning to provide some of that skill to my caravans?
However, if we have,
And if it isn't my employee of the month. I was wondering when we'd get the chance to chat. I've made quite a pretty penny, thanks to your help. So many pretty pennies, I think I might hold a pageant. You still trying to get that backpack, dear? Plenty of work left to be done, you know.
I'd appreciate if the job offers were saved for later. We're here on pressing business.
Okay, Paladin, down to brass tacks then. It's not an accident that I finally opted to meet with you, after playing hard to get for so long. We know you're interested in the folks that have gone missing. We are too. Been looking into it for a spell now.
Hold on. If you knew, why lie to Art Knapp? Why refuse our help?
Plain and simple. I wanted to handle this internally. I didn't want news of this stirring up a panic, maybe causing the perpetrators to flee. Our client paid us for safe transport, and we failed them. It was our responsibility to solve it discreetly. I'm sure you can appreciate that. As for deceiving Mr. Knapp, well, I dislike fibbing. But sometimes you've got to play your cards close to your chest, especially when lives are at stake.
I don't buy it. Sounds more like you were trying to prevent future clients from being scared off. It makes me wonder if this sudden cooperation isn't in the interest of helping others. Maybe you've just been caught.
I'd be offended by these accusations if it didn't weave such a fascinating story. Are you planning to sell that as a dime novel? Well, if you're wondering why my organization would choose to dodge your calls, examine the attitude with which you've started this conversation. This pseudo-authority you're flaunting is exactly the type of oppression and regulation that my free enterprise can do without.
Before that, you should know that we have evidence connecting Blue Ridge to all of this.
And what, pray tell, is that, darling?
We found correspondence from our suspects claiming they were acquiring people from Blue Ridge. It seems to me that your company has been transporting people in a different way than you've advertised. And involuntarily at that.
We've always been upfront and honest with this venture. The routes are dangerous, and our Brahmin sure as hell don't smell like roses. Everyone who works with us gets the straight truth. And I certainly don't take too kindly to what you're implying. I could stand here and deny your allegations every which way to Sunday. But I know you won't just take my word for it. So if you've got some hard evidence to prove my people were involved in this little scheme, show it. Otherwise, this letter of yours sounds more like we're the target, not co-conspirators.
Okay, then tell us what you know. We have to act fast.
All right. That's fine by me.
Right now, the most important thing is finding everyone that has gone missing and returning them home. Being upfront with your involvement in this now will be looked upon favorably, because we're not stopping until this is solved and they are safe.
Slow down, Paladin. This is not an admission of guilt or an attempt to weasel out of responsibility. We are just as concerned about these folk as you. We're willing to cooperate in hopes of saving lives, nothing else. And if you're hoping I'm about to spill the beans on some secret abduction scheme, you're out of luck. We have the same goals as you in this.
Honeyed words, but we should proceed. What can you tell us about the people that went missing from your caravan?
Better to just let you take a look for yourselves. Aries! Come on in here!
This guy looks like some kind of guard. Probably armed. Don't take your eye off him, Initiate.
If we've completed riding shotgun and we know Aries, we can pass a riding shotgun check to say, he's a little strange, but he's a good guy.
Worked with him before, have you? Just remember where these hired guns' loyalties lie. The people paying them. Don't let your guard down just yet.
Or we could say, don't you think you're jumping to a few too many conclusions?
Despite Miss Mayfield's silver tongue, I'm not entirely convinced. Let's not start a shootout, but just stay cautious.
You rang, boss?
Harper's Ferry, the train tunnel. Mind showing our guests the route?
Oh, crap. You really want to go back there?
That was exactly my thinking, Aries. Head on over to that tunnel and show this duo of detectives the scene of the crime. Does that sound amenable to y'all?
What can you tell me about this train tunnel?
The train tunnel itself isn't so important, but underneath is a top-secret gas pipeline running all the way out of the region. It's a pretty discreet route. Safe, too, comparatively. Except, the most recent trip.
What are we expecting to find there?
Well, the last known whereabouts of one of our caravans. They set up camp there, but come morning, the entire place was abandoned. It was a big group, maybe around 15, including our own guard.
You've lost that many people? And we're only just now hearing about this.
That's on me. I chose to keep this off the books. Maybe a bad call, but let's save examine in hindsight for when we've gotten to the bottom of this.
I think we have what we need. Let's go.
Okie dokie, I'll meet you there. It's the big fancy train tunnel just east of Harper's Ferry.
Now, time is money, and I've burned a bottle and plant worth of caps chatting with you two. So if you don't mind, please direct any further inquiries to my masked associate.
Fine. But after reviewing the evidence, I plan to revisit Blue Ridge's involvement in this matter.
By all means. If you find something that gets us answers, we can talk till the Brahmin come home.
Talking to Rahmani.
Let's regroup at the Harper's Ferry train tunnel. Safe travels.
Talking to Joanna.
You and your paladin can learn a thing or two about subterfuge, darling. She needs to work a little harder to hide that high and mighty aura of hers.
Talking to Aries.
Harper's Ferry train tunnel. Be there or be not there. What else did you need?
What do you think happened to that caravan?
Hard to say. The campsite was pretty much undisturbed. Just empty. Spooky stuff. Ghosts, probably. Or a ghost train. Train ghost? One of those. Tell me which one of those two things, and only those two things, it was when we get there, okay?
What's with the mask?
Oh, just a little something to help me breathe. And to keep my jaw attached. You know what they say, play with fire, get burned. Play with killer robots, get your face ripped off.
This response is his first clue as to his true identity. We can say, wait, a killer robot?
What? Where?
Or, I don't think I've heard that one before.
Well, you heard it now. Consider it a public service announcement.
I'll meet you there.
Bring snacks. Please and thank you.
And so off we go to meet Layla and Aries at the Harper's Ferry Tunnel. The Harper's Ferry Tunnel is a real historic location in West Virginia, but it wasn't available for us to explore in Appalachia until the Steel Rain DLC. We find it in the mire to the east of Harper's Ferry on the other side of the water. If coming from the direction of the ransacked bunker, we have to wade through knee-deep water until we find a bunch of ladders and staircases that climb up the rock face towards the train bridge. Directly beneath the bridge, we find a little bit of a shack created here. Inside is a bit of scrap, a brewer's station, and a chemistry station, in case we need to scrap down before heading inside the tunnel. Continuing to climb the ladders up to the top, we see a Free States symbol posted just outside, and a train car that we can climb into that has a cap stash and more scrap. When ready, we can open the big red door to enter Harper's Ferry train tunnel. On the other side, we find Paladin Rahmani waiting for us down the tracks.
Initiate, glad you made it here safely. That Aries character is further ahead. I should mention, every instinct I have is telling me not to trust him. It seems we don't have much choice for the time being, but we'd be wise to keep an eye on him.
If we sided with Rahmani at the end of Steel Dawn, we find an option to say, "What has you so on edge, Paladin?"
As I mentioned before, this isn't my first time dealing with a caravan group like this.
However, if we sided with Shin at the end of Steel Dawn, our option reads, "We follow the evidence, not instinct."
I'm sure Shin would applaud your cool, logical analysis, but do not ignore human intuition. Not to mention experience. I've dealt with caravan groups like this before. More than once, we discovered that slavers had been using the guise of a caravan to collect and transport people. Blue Ridge using a dark corner like this for their operations only raises my suspicions. I cannot overlook the similarities.
Okay, let's go meet him.
All right, you take point. Guns at the ready. I spotted some feral ghouls earlier.
Heading down the tracks, we find a number of askew train cars that we have to climb through to move forward. And as we do, we stumble upon some feral ghouls. towards the end of the tracks, we find our path forward blocked by more train cars. But we do find a concrete room here, and stepping inside, we find a guard note on a table. Still can't believe I got this job. They nearly doubled my salary. And for what? To sit here and read and make sure vagrants stay out? Okay. Don't know what they're doing down there. Don't care. If they're wearing a suit or a hard hat, I just wave them on through. One of the suits was running late the other day and nearly got hit by a train. Guess he forgot to check the schedule. Huh. Alright, so guys wearing hard hats going into a train tunnel, maintenance. Okay, makes sense, but suits? What were suits doing here? It's not like this was a commuter train tunnel. After inspecting the rest of the rail cars, within which one of them we find a skillable two-locked safe, we can move to the northeast where we find a big double door. On the other side of the door, we find Aries waiting for us. Examining the room, we find a couple of containers, some bags of cement, and a pinup calendar on the wall. Lasting quality, natural gas products, Ms. Toasty Flames, 2077. The calendar has September 19th circled. It says laundry, and this is a calendar for the natural gas Bysshe company, a company we've heard about in the Fallout universe before, but we'll get to that in a bit. Talking to Aries.
Well, hello there. The spot we're looking for is further in the facility. There's a trick to getting in. Give me one shake of a lamb squatch's tail to get it open. Let's see, 30 days past September, carry the 2.
Is this for real?
And Viola is just a little further ahead. Please, after you.
Fine. But don't think we aren't keeping an eye on you.
I can't blame you. I know I'm a real looker.
His comment about a lamb squatch's tail is another clue as to his true identity. But no time for that now. Passing through the metal detectors. Yeah, they still work. On the other side, we find a note on the counter, prohibited items. Updated list of prohibited items. Cigarette lighters, matches, blowtorches, oil lamps, firearms, and fireworks. Yikes. Looks like they weren't letting anything flammable through. Employees carrying any of these items should be sent to management immediately for a reprimand. On the X-ray scanner, we do find a firearm here, and when ready, we can head down the stairs, which wraps around a corner and leads to an employee locker room. We see a number of ways forward, including a door to the left. We'll head there first. Opening the door, we find a ghoul. And then before we can explore the room, we hear a ghoul moving from a nearby room. So backing out and rounding the corner, we can take care of them. Alright, with those ghouls dead, we can go back into the room to explore it. It looks like a manager's office. Display cases and furniture, art on the wall, and a blasted out computer on the desk. Next to the computer is a note. Internal Incident Report. Internal Incident Report for use by Bysshe Management and HR only. Employee name Dominic Sellers. Incident summary: Mr. Sellers brought in several low-grade sparkler fireworks to add to a cake celebrating another employee's birthday. Incident resolution: employee has received a relocation package. HR to inform family in the coming weeks. Additional screening measures have also been implemented. Oh, a relocation package? Why is that in quotes? Was Dominic really relocated? What, against his will or something? Why then was his family informed? Almost sounds like something sinister happened to poor Dominic here, and all he wanted to do was celebrate a birthday. I mean, he should have known better. No sparklers here. And the name of the company here on the letterhead, Bysshe, gives us a clue as to why. We first came upon the Bysshe company during the Point Lookout DLC of Fallout 3. There, the Bysshe company operated the research vessel, the USS Ozymandias, and we got to explore the wreck during that DLC. While exploring the wreck, we learned that the Bysshe company was a natural gas company. They were at Point Lookout looking for deposits of biogas. This likely means that whatever the Bysshe Company was doing here in the Harper's Ferry Tunnel had something to do with flammable gas, hence why anything combustible was banned. So now we understand why a bunch of suits were coming down here. Bysshe Company executives were coming in and out of this place. But for what reason? Why was Bysshe here? Out of the manager's office, we can loot the locker rooms where we walk away with some ammunition and scrap. Heading down the stairs, we can loot this cafeteria level for scrap. And then through the double doors, we can loot the bodies of the ghouls we killed. We arrive in a large industrial room with numerous doors in every wall, but they appear to be blocked by large vines. Vines we can't get through. There is one office here, locked with a skill level 1 lock. Inside the room we find a fusion generator with a fusion core in it, a couple of containers with scrap, and a first aid box on the wall. Then heading up the stairs towards the big door to the north, we find Aries leaning against a wall.
Okay, the camp's just past this door here. I'll get it open. And that's bad. Oh, that's very bad.
Speak, Aries. What's a holdup?
You're not gonna like this. Follow me.
Following Aries, he races to the western door that's blocked by vines.
Yep, just like I thought. Let's chat. Welcome to the 9th Circle of Hell. First, the good news. It's bring your own paramilitary night, so the paladin drinks for free.
What is this place?
Just your run-of-the-mill illegal natural gas pipeline, courtesy of the fine people at the Bysshe Company. A bit before the war, Bysshe offered to maintain this historic train tunnel out of the goodness of their cold, corporate hearts. And wouldn't you know it, they may have had an ulterior motive.
Start making sense or I'll put my fist through that mask.
Well, I hope you've gotten your tetanus shot. No telling where my face has been. But listen up first.
Okay, but what's the bad news?
The bad news is that I can't unseal that door. Here's the quick version. Clever little me locks that door by setting off a bogus gas leak alarm. But it looks like in order to lift the lockdown, you need to verify there's actually no gas leak. The door is real picky like that.
Why did you lock the door in the first place?
We ferried a lot of people through these tunnels. Didn't want any of our former clients trying to use it. Not for business reasons or anything. We just didn't want anyone else going missing down here.
Out with it already. What are you trying to get me to do?
I'm trying to get you to drop the bad cop act and listen for starters.
Okay, so verify there's no gas leak.
Oh, I'd love to, but there's a little problem. If you'll cast your steely gaze to the left, you'll see a massive, impenetrable wall of strangler vines. To verify there's no gas leak, we need to get to the pump room. One guess where the pump room is located.
Behind the impenetrable wall of strangler vines.
Winner, winner, rag steak dinner.
I get it. We need to get through the vines. How?
Yeah, that's the tricky part. There were some engineers living down here well after the bombs fell. Looks like they lasted a few years even. Which means they had a way of fighting back the vines. Maybe start by looking for how they did that.
How do you know so much about this place?
In a past life I used to work with these pencil-pushing sociopaths in suits. Oh, well, not at this facility, but I was in the know about their various nefarious dealings in the region.
And this is our third clue as to the true identity of Aries. What are strangler vines exactly?
I don't know. They're all over this region, though. Hard as hell to cut, and they grow like they hold a grudge.
People lived down here? How do you know?
I snooped around a bit when I first recommended the route to Joanna. There's some offices that were clearly being used as bunks for a while. Not sure what happened to them. It almost looks like they just dropped dead on the spot. That's not a bad omen, is it?
Okay, we'll find something to cut the vines.
We'll just skulk here in the corner in case another way of opening this door comes to mind. Let me know if you have any luck. Try not to die a terrible death.
This sounds like a very contrived way of getting us killed. Stay sharp, Initiate.
Right. We gotta figure out a way to get through these vines. Heading to the terminal that Aries tried to read, we can see exactly what freaked him out. Bysshe, natural gas employees only. Gas leak sealed door control station. Warning! Gas leak alarm has been set manually. Lockdown is in place. To lift the lockdown, verify pipe integrity from pump room. Alright, cut the vines, get to the pump room. Sure. To the northeast, we find a staircase leading up through a doorway and up some stairs into another large room. We don't find any enemies here, but we do find consoles and ruins all over the place. To the right is a door that's locked with a skill level 1 lock. Unlocking it, we find a storage room and an office with the skeleton of a worker still in his seat. Here we find a first aid kit on the wall and some minor scrap in the cabinets. Back out to the main room, we find another skeleton at a table here, looking out these large windows, and at a desk next to another tipped over skeleton, we see a note. But then...
Initiate, look there, behind that gate. Seems like some kind of thrown together lab. Do you suppose they were making something to deal with the vines? I think I see some kind of chemical on the ground there. We need to find a way to unlock this door.
Sure enough, peering through the grating, we do see something lying on the ground there. Could it be a chemical? It's got a biohazard symbol on it. Alright, we need to find a way through this door. First, let's read the note that we saw over here. Open sesame seed. Since there's only a few of us left down here, we decided to stop changing the password each week. From here until eternity, it's going to be Open Sesame Seed. Why? Because I'd sell any of you to the nearest raider if it meant I could eat another sesame seed bagel again. Poor guy died without ever eating another bagel.
Open sesame seed, eh? I've always been more of an everything bagel person.
Looking around for more clues, we find a chalkboard on a wall above a desk. It appears to be a cipher. Okay, the alphabet and numbers. Oh, really? That's it? Okay, so instead of A being 1, B being 2, C being 3, etc., they simply reversed it so that Z is 1, Y is 2, and X is 3. Okay, match the number to the letter, and we've got ourselves a password. All right, so then open sesame seed, according to this, would be 12, 11, 22, 13, 8, 22, 8, 26, 14, 22, 8, 22, 22, 23. All right, well, where do we punch all of this in? Continuing our exploration, we find a door against the eastern wall, another skeleton on the ground surrounded by paperwork, and another note lying on a table next to a terminal. IT work order. Bysshe IT support. Request. Help! I entered the right password and it doesn't work. Can you guys come help me, please? Ticket notes. $5 says this jackass is misspelling sesame as sesame again. It should be 822, 826, 1422, not 822, 822, 1422. I mean, seriously, we spelled the whole thing out on the board. Is this really that hard? I feel like we're getting a little stupider every day. Must be something in the water. Bysshe Pipeline, IT support. Okay, so if we didn't figure out the cipher ourselves, they've flat out spelled it for us here. Thanks, guys.
From the sound of it, they wrote the numbering system down so they wouldn't need to remember it. Must be around here somewhere.
Yeah, found it already, Paladin Rahmani. Oh, there's a note on the bulletin board next to her. Reminder about password. In case you guys forgot, we need to use the new decryption system for entering the password. Stop asking why there's no letters on the stupid machines. Take the password, convert it into numbers. Try using those mechanical engineering degrees for once. Mel. Yeah, there really must have been something in the water if these guys were having such a hard time with that password.
Looks like we'll need more than just a password to get through. Some kind of code for turning words into numbers, it seems. So, I guess we'll need to find a way to change open sesame seed into a series of numbers.
Yeah, we got that far, Paladin. Come on, keep up. Back to the terminal that we didn't get a chance to read because we got sidetracked by Paladin Rahmani, we see that it's an observation terminal. Bysshe natural gas employees only. Bysshe, a leader in eco-friendly natural gas. Select data to access. We find 4 options in the first new ID system. Bysshe has decided to start doing another decryption system for passwords, project names, even our own employee IDs. Say bye-bye, Dr. Owen Dade, and say hello to my new persona, 12, 4, 22, 13, 23, 26, 23, 22. Catchy, right? It's pretty simple, though maybe too simple. You just take the numerical order of each letter of the alphabet and then flip it, so A is 26, Z is 1. I give it about a week before they change their minds on this. Personally, I think the new system is nothing but a stinking pile of 11, 12, 12, 11. 11, 12, 12, 11. Let's see, that's, poop. Nice. In the next one, the end. We got word of what happened up there. Guess I should count myself lucky that I'm on this shift. We didn't even notice anything was going on. Our water system is entirely insular. We've got climate control and enough emergency rations left in the cave-in prep closet. The world may be over, but we're still here. And the next one, vines. These vines are driving us all nuts down here. Seems like they're growing stronger by the day. Can't even cut the damn things anymore. Mel said he's developing something that should be able to weaken them. He's being real quiet about it, though. I think he's full of it personally. Mel was developing something to get rid of the vines. Could it be that briefcase with the biohazard symbol on it? And the last one, not feeling great. If it's not one thing, it's another. Mel used some kind of chemical to make the vines weaker, so we've been able to keep them at bay. Except the ones in the pump room, of course. We don't want whatever got trapped down there to get loose. Not feeling great, though. Maybe we just need some fresh air? Oh, right. Wait, something is trapped in the pump room? Could it still be there? Uh-oh. What are we gonna find when we get rid of those vines? Heading to the password panel, we can finally punch in the password. We find 3 number pads here, and it looks like each one corresponds to a different segment of the password. Activating the first one, we can choose the sequence that spells open. That was 12, 11, 22, 13. Activating the second one, we can choose the sequence that spells sesame. That was 822, 826, 1422. Gotta make sure we don't spell sesame with an additional E. And in the last one, we can choose the numerical sequence that spells the word seed. 8, 22, 22, 23. When ready, we can push the big red button.
Well done, Initiate. That was some impressive detective work.
Yes, it's not like every single note and terminal in this place was just screaming the answer at us, but thanks. I'll take the compliment.
Let's have a look at this. Aha! My hunch was right. According to the label, they made an extremely potent herbicide. Judging from this container, it looks like it's meant to be dispersed into a larger system. No sprinklers in here, so, dear Lord. The facility's water line? That would explain the bodies out there, but why? They must have known this would happen. No time to dwell on that. Initiate, let's look for a station where we can access the water line. This is what we need to weaken the vines.
Oh god, so the secret weapon against the vines that Mel was working on was an herbicide. Did he really put it into the water lines? In this room, we see vines coming down from the ceiling, piercing the body of whomever is lying here. There's a chemistry station in this room, and lying next to the body and a lantern is a note. I admit it. No one left alive, so I may as well admit it. I couldn't come up with a formula to combat the strangler vines. I found some industrial-strength herbicide in the storage room, the fancy dispenser, the formula notes, this lab station, all just a facade. At first, I added a tiny bit and it worked. No one got sick. Seemed fine. You guys thought I was really smart, so win-win, right? They started resisting the smaller dose. Had to up it. I thought maybe our drinking water's filtration system would fix it. People puking their guts out says otherwise. I refuse to drink it. I'd rather let the thirst take me. Sorry, guys. At least I got to feel what it was like to be the smartest guy in the room for a bit. For anyone that finds this, I'll leave some herbicide behind. Use every bit of it, and give those vines my best regards. Mel. Here lies Mel. Ended up poisoning all his coworkers, but at least he gave us what we need to get rid of the vines. After looting this room of all of its scrap, we can head through the big double doors by the terminal to find a way to add this to the water system. Immediately to the left, we see 2 bathrooms and then what appears to be the water system to the right. Moving to the bathrooms first, we can open the one on the left. There's a rad roach in here. Appears to be the women's restroom. Nothing in any of the stalls. We can pass through a break in the wall to reach the men's restroom. Here we find a plunger stuck to a broken mirror. Someone's final act of frustration, maybe. And then in one of the stalls, we see a chalk drawing on the wall with a combat knife stabbed into it. Swish, swish, swish. Opening the door and heading out, we can move towards these big tanks and pipes. This room is absolutely huge. Where even do we start? Heading down the ramp, we can explore these rooms on the ground floor. In one, we find some scrap and a weapons workbench. The room opens up through a double door back into the large room. Continuing clockwise, we pass by the staircase we came down from, and we can enter a room to the right. Here we find a tinkerer's workbench, more scrap, a couple of lockers, and more huge tanks. This room lets back out into the large one. After looting more scrap on this platform, we can open another door to the south. This leads to another side room filled with even more scrap and one note on a table: suspicious noises. Mike, boss man, pulled me aside and asked me to go check out the pump area. Says he was down there the other day and heard something that sounded like a trapped farm animal. If I'm not back by lunch, send a search party. That place gives me the heebie-jeebies. Trapped farm animal? Farm animal like what, a cow or a sheep? We finish exploring this room by looting a first aid box on a wall, and then out the northern door, we continue exploring the larger room counterclockwise. But that appears to be it. We can move towards the center of the room to examine a lot of the machinery, but there's nothing else here. So moving west, we climb a platform.
Here we go. This looks like it connects to the main water line. Let's talk next steps.
Ah, there we go.
I should be able to disperse the herbicide into the water line from here. I'm suspecting that the security system here won't appreciate that. Expect alarms. And the company that alarms tend to attract. Ready for a fight?
I'm ready. I'll watch your back.
Okay. Fingers crossed and guns at the ready. Let's take a look here. Okay. The chemical has started dispersing into the water systems. Damn, it's detected a foreign substance. I'll prepare for it to get noisy in here. Initiate, I'll need you to keep them off my back. Ad Victoriam.
While she's preoccupied, we can turn around, whereupon we see ghouls climb out from underneath the pipes.
The system is blocking me from releasing a sample outside this room. I need more time. Keep it up!
With the first wave down, another charges.
Gotten through to about half the facility. Can't stop now. I'll need to reach the drainage system if we're going to affect the vines.
With the second wave down, a third races up the steps.
Unlocking the last gate valve now. Give him hell, initiate. Done. The chemical is pumping throughout the entire water system now, including a cess pipe that was for disposing of unwanted chemicals. Well, one sleazy company's environmental negligence is our gain, I suppose. Those vines should be weak enough to break through now. I wouldn't drink the water if I were you, though.
Duly noted, Paladin Rahmani. We too have seen the skeletons. But of course this brings up the question, If the herbicide killed everyone who worked here, where did these ghouls come from? With this room clear and the poison applied to the water system, we can move to the northwest where we find a door blocked by vines. And sure enough, we can hack right through them. This leads us back to the room where we arrived, the one where we left Aries by the terminal. Crossing the room to the west, we can hack through the vines that are blocking this one. We arrive on a ledge overlooking a pit. After looting some scrap, we see a huge door against the northern wall, but the terminal is blasted out and we have no way to open it, so down the stairs we can descend into the pit. Uh-oh. Was that a farm animal?
Did you hear that? That doesn't sound like a feral ghoul to me. We should watch our backs in here.
Here we find more vines, and hacking through them reveals a red door. We can loot some minor scrap in this room, and then hack our way through more vines to open up a new doorway. This leads to a cavernous room with pipes in the ceiling and vines snaking all around us. Moving to the left, we see a staircase leading down into a large opening. But moving to the right, we can hack through more vines. This leads to an elevated platform where we find a bunch of scrap and a staircase blocked by even more vines. After we hack through, we arrive at another floating platform. This one has more scrap, an armor workbench, and a first aid kit on the wall. It lets out to a ledge overlooking this large chamber. We find a couple of rooms blocked by vines. One has a few containers and minor scrap. Another leads to a section filled with tanks and machinery. Another leads to a small section with a steamer trunk inside. And at last, we hack through vines and climb a staircase to arrive at a pump safety console. Bysshe natural gas employees only. Gas leak alarm set, lockdown in place. In order to lift the security lockdown, a pump integrity check must be performed. Note, 1 security abnormality. We can verify pump integrity.
Hostile robotic entity? That's troubling. Be on the lookout.
Before we backed away, the terminal said, hostile unidentified, non-company compliant robotic entity detected at location. Disable robotic entity before proceeding. But walking around, we don't see any hostile robotic entity. Bah! What? We get attacked by a sheep squatch imposterling. The sheep squatch imposterling is not nearly as difficult as the imposter sheep squatch, but it's still a formidable opponent, especially when you're fighting it solo. I ran all around here, kiting the sucker, trying to avoid its laser blast, and Paladin Rahmani did jack squat. I don't even think she ever pulled out her gun. But eventually, after a long and protracted battle, we slay the imposterling.
I haven't lost my mind, have I? That was an Assaultron dressed up as a sheep? Whatever it was, it's dead, and we should be able to lift the lockdown. Let's get back to that terminal.
Before heading to the terminal, we can loot the imposterling, and on its body, we find the command parameters holotape. Reading it in our Pip-Boy. Author, Calvin Van Lowe. This Assaultron has been modified to include the following behavior parameters. 1. Sheep squatch mating rituals. 2. Read error unknown parameter. 2 errors have been detected in this unit's parameter settings. We can try to diagnose the errors. The following errors are present in this unit's behavior parameters. Installer Calvin Van Lowe, listed installer of Sheep Squatch mating rituals parameters, does not adhere to Guideline 4264 2077. Employee ID decryption version 3, please reinstall with proper guidelines. Potentially malicious backdoor behavior parameter installed. No associated user. Please quarantine and identify. That's all the information we get unless we have an intelligence of 10 or greater. If we do, we find an additional quarantine backdoor parameter. Behavior parameter quarantined, behavior parameter identified. Method backdoor installation, type combat target prioritization, installer Mother Unit 01. Behavior locate all known Bysshe employees, eliminate targeted employees on site, report success to Mother Unit 1. Subbehavior, any Assaultron units encountered should be noted and reported to Mother Unit 1 for acquisition and repopulation procedures. Only by passing this intelligence check do we get concrete evidence that Calvin Van Lowe survived the imposter sheep squatch mating subroutine that we learned he suffered through during his down low quest that came with Wild Appalachia.
Listen here, Mrs. Saltron. I'm going to be augmenting your behavioral subroutines.
Received. Custom behavioral parameters. Sheep squatch. Mating rituals. Confirmation needed.
I confirm. Wait, what are you... Wait, no! No! No!
And we learn that for some reason, Calvin Van Lowe wanted to kill all Bysshe employees. But why? That's beside the point. Right now, we need to head back to the pump safety console and disable the lockdown. We can again try to verify pump integrity. Pump integrity at acceptable levels. Lockdown can now be lifted.
And that's that. Time to head back to Aries, if he has anything to do with all this.
With that, we can head back to Aries. But along the way, we run afoul some Mirelurks. Back to Aries at the terminal, we can tell him that the job is done.
Your boss looks like she's about to strangle me with one of those vines. Something happened in there?
Aries, between the feral ghouls, the strangler vines, and that insane sheep robot, I've about reached my limit with this place. And your antics. I don't know if this is some kind of trap or elaborate cover-up, but we need to get through that door and get answers. Now!
Whoa, trap? Where's this coming from? Hold on. Did you say sheep robot? Like the Baba kind or the killer robot kind?
Aries, the door! Now! Please!
Okay, just give me a second. Yeesh.
Nearly there now. We're getting closer to the truth. I can feel it.
We could say, that Aries guy is clearly guilty. Let's just deal with him.
Do you think I'd agree with that? I follow my instincts, and many of them point suspicion towards Blue Ridge and Aries, but we do not just deal with a guilty party on the spot. This isn't about punishment, it's about finding and helping the people at risk. If, after all of this, Blue Ridge is responsible for what happened, we will have our justice. But first, we need to know what happened down here.
Or we could say, I think you're being a little hard on Aries.
I hope you're right. I'd like to believe he's innocent in all of this, but I can't lose sight of the goal. Finding the missing people like Cassie is a time-sensitive, life-or-death situation. That comes first.
Alright, let's see here. Login credentials, check. New terms of employment, yeah. Benefits enrollments expired, sure. And done. Trust me now, I'll even lead the way, so if you change your mind, it'll be easier to shoot me in the back.
Thank you for opening the door. But know that if we find anything linking you to this, you're still going to have to answer for it.
Add it to the catalog of questionable things I already have to answer for.
Aries leads us into the middle of these train tracks. He opens a door, leads us through a room until we arrive at a tiny little shanty town, whereupon we get attacked by feral mongrels. All right, we are here. This is where the Blue Ridge caravan rested. We now need to search the place for clues as to the whereabouts of the missing people. Heading all the way back to the door that we used to enter these train tracks, we'll start here so we maintain our point of reference. The first thing we can do is activate the terminal that Aries used to open the door. Now that the gas leak has been lifted, we can see what's here. And here, at last, we get the final piece of evidence we need to piece together Aries' identity. User ID 24 26 15 5 18 13, Calvin 5 26 13, Van 15 12 4 22, Low. We learned in a previous terminal that the Bysshe company was using this code for all sorts of things, ranging from passwords to employee IDs. This tells us that Calvin Van Low was an employee of Bysshe, and this finally fills in many of the gaps that were left at the end of Calvin Van Low's quests that came with Wild Appalachia. During that quest, we learned that Calvin Van Low was building his Sheepsquatch Assaultron for some other entity. Now we know what that entity is. He was building it for Bysshe because he was an employee of Bysshe. Now we know why he wanted to loose the Assaultron on the town of Louisburg. He and the Bysshe company were trying to frighten the people of Louisburg into thinking that their town was being haunted by a cryptid, a sheepsquatch, so it would lower property values so the Bysshe company could buy out the town, presumably because they found natural gas deposits beneath it. Calvin Van Low's pre-war Bysshe ID was programmed into this terminal, credentials that Aries used to access the terminal and open the door.
Login credentials, check.
Aries, whom we know is a former employee of Bysshe.
In a past life I used to work with these pencil-pushing sociopaths in suits.
Whom we know has a hideous disfigurement that he's trying to hide.
You know what they say, play with fire, get burns. Play with killer robots, get your face ripped off.
And who mentions squatches in casual conversation.
Give me one shake of a lamb squatch's tail to get it open.
All of this tells us that Aries is Calvin Van Low. And the developers really enjoyed this little side mystery. They couldn't help from giving us a few clues throughout this quest. Most notably, all the way back where we had to use the cipher to access the security gate, each terminal had 3 numerical options. The one that spelled Open Sesame Seed opened the gate, but the other 2, when decoded, give us a message about Aries' identity. Aries hates sheep and play lying low. Lying Low, of course, the name of the quest that starts Calvin Van Low's story from Wild Appalachia. Recent activity, remote activity, requested medical 20 years ago, medical denied. And this gives us Calvin's motive for creating the Sheepsquatch imposterling and programming it to track down and kill all Bysshe employees. After Calvin was disfigured by the imposter Sheepsquatch he built for Bysshe, he requested medical and they denied it. Hence, his need for revenge. Set alarm gas leak 1 minute ago. Verified lockdown lift 1 minute ago. Unsealing doors 1 minute ago. Error internal clock system malfunction. Warnings, employee has missed more than 1,000 weekly check-in reports. Fixer dispatched. Please stand by. The fixer was none other than the Big Bad Wolf from the Down Low quest. Company property was found to have been modified against regulations by user. Please report to supervisor. That was Calvin creating the Sheepsquatch imposterling. Back out to the train tracks. We can start by turning left and exploring counterclockwise. This entire section of the Harper's Ferry tunnels is wonderfully and densely decorated with tents, tables, scrap, beds, salvage. Passing through a doorway to the west, we kill another mongrel. And on a shelf here, we find a caravan manifest. Departure confirmed Ken Turner, guard, Aries, group details, F. Fernandez, cannery owner, R. Fernandez, merchant, provisions, Minerva, merchant, plans and recipes, Tommy Tentoes, guard, off duty, L. Lees, farmer, 10 leaves, J. Clerk, merchant, fireworks, arrival, confirmed, Vinny. All right, nothing suspicious there. Next one. Departure confirmed Ken Turner, guard Kiernan, group details, Dr. E. Blackburn, Dr. Blackburn. C. Marsh, cartographer, lost in transit. J. Morello, mechanic. Eugenie, merchant, guns. L. Chappell, merchant, toys, collectibles. J. Brush, musician. A. Rollins, interior decorator. V. McClearly, veterinarian. Arrival confirmed. Joanna. So this caravan arrived back safely, but along the way they lost one person. A cartographer, no less. Next one. Departure confirmed. Ken Turner, guard Libby. Group details, Dr. E. Blackburn. Doctor again. C. Timmerman, merchant, furniture. Johnny Bills, guard, off-duty. J. McQuarrie, translator. B. Schnauzer, brewer, lost. C. McDevitt, merchant, rare holotapes, lost. Maybe ditched us to skip the bill? Arrival confirmed. Vinny. The caravan finally arrived, but lost 2 people along the way. In the next one, departure confirmed. Ken Turner, guard Gaetano. Group details, Dr. E. Blackburn, doctor again? C. Holloway, farmer, all sorts. Ooh, C. Holloway? Cassie Halloway, maybe? C. Bernard, builder. D. Bodert, roboticist. S. Mossy, foreman. J. Dullard, merchant, terminal parts. M. Tucher, merchant, construction mats. R. Boye, merchant, weapon mods. B. Kaufman, botanist. A. Fine, hunter, insects. T. Robbins, hunter, insects. D. Turner, chef, insects. Ew. C. Shepard, puppeteer. M. Raymond, mountaineer. I. Knowlson, sculptor. Arrival blank. This entire caravan never arrived. Everyone here disappeared, which is why we find the note left here. Gaetano never got to turn it back into Joanna. So this Dr. E. Blackburn appeared in 3 different caravans. The first time he appears, 1 person goes missing. The second time he appears, 2 people go missing. The third time he appears, the entire caravan goes missing. But wait a minute. Dr. Blackburn? Where have we heard that name before? But then, of course,
Dr. Edgar Blackburn, at your service.
We met him the same day we met Art Knapp in the very first episode. But what does this mean? Continuing to explore this room, we find a skill level 2 locked safe on the ground among a bunch of other broken safes. Back out to the train tracks, we can loot the body of the mongrel. We've got more tents here to explore. An absolute metric ton of scrap here, but no more clues. So opening the door in the eastern wall, we can start to scrub the northern side of these tracks. After looting a bunch of scrap, we move north into some broken tunnels, which were used as beds. And on one of the crates, we find Cassie's journal. Day 1, setting out. Start of a new journey. Foundation, lay out the red carpet for Cassie, because I'm about to turn Appalachia's agriculture on its head. I decided to keep this little journal to chronicle all the amazing things I see along the way. Wish me luck. Day 5, miserable. Walking. That's all we do. We walk. Burned down building? Check. Forest of smoldering dead trees? Check. Oh look, an emptied out Red Rocket gas station. What a thrilling excursion this ended up being. Oh, and to top it all off, there's this creepy old bald guy in our group. I keep catching him staring at me. Eyes to yourself. Doctor? Pervert? Day 15. So close, but so far. We are finally within spitting distance of Appalachia, but a rad storm is raging outside. We've been walking through this old train tunnel all day, and now we can't even step outside until the storm blows over. Going to find a nice spot to get cozy and nap off all this walking. Day 15, night. Okay, this is so weird. These guys showed up all of a sudden, armed to the teeth. They've just been sitting around chatting with that weirdo doctor. Everyone seems a little nervous, even the guard. Wait, they took his gun away. What the hell is going on? Oh crap, they saw me. If someone finds this, help us all! Cassie wrote this journal during the caravan she took, the last one we saw on the caravan manifest, the one where everybody disappeared because it never reached its destination, and now we know why. Some armed guys appeared, talked to this doctor, who must be Dr. Blackburn, and then took guns away from Gaetano, the guard. Exploring the tunnels, we don't find much until we arrive again at the middle of the tunnel. We can explore these elevated train cars. We find tables and booze and desks, not much else. There's a camp behind it, a staircase leading to a door that's blocked in, where we find some ammunition and a weapon. The tracks to the east are blocked, so we can't explore down there. We see an elevated shack against the northern wall. Not much but scrap behind it, though we do find a few potatoes. Looks like this might have been used as a marketplace at some point. Heading up the staircase to the elevated platform, we can loot a fridge for ammunition, a little bit more scrap, and then we find another note. Damn radstorms. Doggone radstorms. Of all the trips, it's gotta be my turn when the mother of all green glowing death clouds parks itself over the mire. We're going to need to camp out until it passes. I'm already exhausted from babysitting this massive group for the past 2 weeks. Sure, Joe's gonna be thrilled by all the transport fees, but she's not the one that's got to deal with the delinquents, uppity merchants, and that weirdo doctor that keeps joining us. At least no one's gone missing, assuming I can get them all to stay close by the camp, that is. Gaetano. Gaetano was the name of the Blue Ridge Caravan guard that accompanied the final and missing caravan. We've found all of the clues we can. Heading downstairs, we can try to talk to Aries.
Being back here again even gives me the creeps. And trust me, that's saying something.
Talking to Paladin Rahmani.
Seems like you've been pretty thorough. Are you ready to discuss what you've found?
Yes, here's everything I've found.
Excellent. I'll take what you've collected. Let me take a look at what you've found. I just need a minute to review it all.
She walks into the nearby room and lays all of the evidence down on a table.
Pull out your decoder rings, kids. It's detective time.
I see. That's concerning. Wait a moment. This name. I know this name. I think I've seen enough. Initiate, we should discuss our findings. Well, it seems like Cassie was indeed a part of this caravan group, but I think it'd be a good idea to step through the evidence together. I may have been assuming too much about Blue Ridge's involvement. I'd like to be on the same page, so where would you like to start?
Let's discuss why they were camping in the first place.
Yes, it would seem this was a routine trip until the end. Something kept them here and forced them to set up camp so close to home.
We find a number of options here, but there's only one correct response. Of all of the wrong ones, we could say, this was the last stop in Blue Ridge's human meat collection scheme.
Where is your head, Initiate? That's not even close to what this evidence suggests.
I knew those pepperoni rolls had a funky taste.
Let's get real. They were bunked down here due to a radstorm. A large group of civilians and merchants accompanied by just a single guard. Sitting ducks.
Or we could have chosen the correct response and said, a radstorm forced them to stay here overnight. They were vulnerable.
That's right. The storm forced them to bunk down. They were an extra large group too, with only one guard. Sitting ducks.
We should talk about how they went missing.
Indeed. It looks like we have a clear account of their last moments here.
And again, a similar situation. We can choose the wrong response and say, a trap door opened up. The entire group fell in.
That's a very vivid imagination you have, Initiate. But no, it would appear that unexpected strangers arrived heavily armed.
Or we can choose the correct response and say, a group of armed strangers showed up.
That was my take as well. Based on Cassie's description and the letter you found earlier, we can assume they were these Hellcat mercenaries. The total number of people they've abducted, though, is staggering. Nearly 15 in this trip alone.
Let's go over the names on the manifest.
Right, the manifest. One name in particular really stood out to me. Did you notice it?
We find a number of wrong options, one of which doesn't make a lick of sense. Night Shin. We could try to play into Paladin Rahmani's incorrect assumptions about Aries by saying, Aries, just like you suspected.
As, idiosyncratic as his behavior has been, there's not much evidence suggesting such.
I'm right here, you know.
Besides, Aries was only assigned to one trip and no one even went missing. The person I'm referring to is Dr. Blackburn.
Or we can choose the correct response. The one thing that we've noticed this entire time. The one name we've seen repeated in all of these clues. Dr. Blackburn. B.
That's right. Dr. Blackburn. Not only was he present on multiple trips, but Cassie makes mention of him speaking with the armed strangers, likely these Hellcat mercenaries you've dealt with. I imagine Dr. Blackburn was the one employing them. I knew the name sounded familiar. I had read it in Shin's report of your very first assignment with us. Think back, Initiate. Do you recall why Dr. Blackburn had been seeking our assistance?
And now we have to cast our mind back to when we first met Dr. Blackburn. What is it that he wanted from the Brotherhood?
I had heard that the Brotherhood possessed advanced technology. As a doctor and a scientist, this was of great interest. My research is always in need of equipment and materials rather difficult to obtain by scavenging and bartering. I came to see if an arrangement could be made, but from what I can see of their operations, they are as yet still in too much disarray.
Again, we have a number of incorrect options. We could say, is he the guy who got jumped by phony Brotherhood members?
No, that was Mr. Hawkman. Dr. Blackburn was the one who had been performing experiments to help the people of the wasteland. I had thought it sounded too good to be true. But even still, could he be kidnapping people? To what end?
Or we could choose the correct one and say he was seeking assistance with experiments to help humanity.
That's right. Dr. Blackburn was seeking assistance with his experiments. Something about curing diseases and helping people. I suspected it was too good to be true, and the evidence here certainly doesn't look promising. But could he really be kidnapping people?
Looks like we've got our answer.
Indeed we do. Dr. Blackburn was hiring these Hellcat mercenaries to kidnap people from this route. It would appear they were cautious at first, but took advantage of a radstorm to steal away an entire group. An unfortunate end, but there's still hope of finding them. The only thing left is to report back our findings and determine Blackburn's location.
If we were completely unobservant and we got all of the answers wrong, she still says,
I'm glad I had you here, Initiate. There's a few things I'm sure I would have missed if you hadn't been here to help. I do believe we make a pretty great team.
However, if we got all of them correctly, her dialogue differs slightly.
You were an excellent partner in this, Initiate. This has been a humbling experience. I do believe we make a pretty great team.
We find different options here depending upon our relationship with her. If we sided with her at the end of Steel Dawn, we find an option to say, you know I've got your back, Paladin. Or we could say, honestly, I thought you were being unfair to Blue Ridge and Aries.
I can't blame you. My sights are entirely focused on everyone that's gone missing, but I can't just plow through everything to reach that goal. This experience has helped me see that.
Or if we sided with Knight Shin at the end of Steel Dawn, we find the last option as well as two other ones. Let's not get carried away, Rahmani, or I appreciate you owning up to your mistakes. Maybe I've been wrong about you.
Well, part of me wants to encourage you to follow your gut, even if that means disapproving of me. But if I've learned anything from this, it's allowing for the patients to find the objective truth of the matter. Something I, perhaps, have been lacking. It's something that I know I need to improve upon, not just as leader of the Brotherhood, but as a person. And hopefully, to begin earning back your trust. Anyway, we should get back to Atlas and report what we found. If we can determine where Blackburn took this group, we may be able to track down Cassie, and perhaps countless others. I'll meet you there. Good work, Initiate. Aries, I owe you an apology. My rash behavior was unfitting of my position, and frankly, unfair to you.
Water under the bridge. All of my best friendships start with misplaced suspicion of mass kidnapping.
I will take your word for it. I am sorry either way.
If you really want to make it up to me, I've heard you guys have some killer rocket launchers to spare.
Absolutely not.
With that, we complete the quest out of the blue, and we get a copy of Brotherhood civvies, as well as the plans to craft Brotherhood civvies. The Brotherhood civvies are the exact same outfit Rahmani has been wearing this entire episode. It includes the Brotherhood of Steel pin on the pocket, as well as the Paladin insignia on the right shoulder. I'm not sure why we're able to wear a set of civvies that have a paladin rank insignia on it, but it is what it is, and at least the outfit looks pretty cool. It even has a Nuka-Cola bottle cap on the fanny pack. Talking to Rahmani again.
Once again, great work, Initiate. I'm gonna gather what we found here. I'll meet you at Fort Atlas.
Talking to Aries again.
I'm glad you and the righteous paladin got the answers you sought.
What are your thoughts on what we uncovered?
I honestly wasn't following. Something about cats and rug burn, I don't know. But it would be real swell if you found this locked safe and sound.
So Aries, who are you really?
Who are any of us? Who are you? Who is the paladin? Who am I? Now, that's a good question.
What do you know about that weird sheep robot?
Well, I know that I'm glad you killed it. If it found me first, you'd be talking to a pile of diced meat right now.
Possibly because he also is a former Bysshe employee? Well, thanks for the help, Aries. See you around.
Oh, no problem. You should head over to Big Ben East sometime. Join us for a caravan run. You're a natural at walking through dark train tunnels.
Or if we've done riding shotgun, he says,
anything for a fellow caravaner. Be sure to stop by Big Bend now and then. We never get tired of seeing you.
We then start the quest, A Satisfied Conscience. Investigate the source of the disappearances. We need to head back to Fort Atlas and check in with Paladin Rahmani. But sadly, I'm completely out of time. We'll pick up right here where we leave off in my next episode. I publish new Fallout videos each and every week on my channel, so if you don't want to miss that episode, be sure to subscribe and to click that bell notification button. If you have already and you still feel like you're missing out on YouTube notifications, consider following me on Twitter at Oxhorn. I update Twitter manually with every new piece of content that I publish. I've got a shirt shop with completely unique designs that you can't find anywhere else. My designs come on shirts in a variety of men's, women's, and children's sizes and in a wide array of colors. You can find them on other items as well, like smartphone cases, pillows, posters, mugs, stickers, prints, etc. So if interested, you can find a link to my shop in the description below, or you can click here. If you like what I do and you want to support me in a more personal way, consider becoming a patron on Patreon or a member here on YouTube. YouTube members and patrons on Patreon gain access to a private channel on my Discord server, and YouTube members get little badges that appear next to their names in the comment sections of my videos, and access to ox emojis that they can use in my video comments and in the live chats of my live streams. But more than anything, I'm just so glad you're here watching this video with me today. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you soon with the next episode in the full story of Steel Rain.